choose your character. Will you go with Lena or Bianca? Welcome to the world of video games, the movie, the podcast. I am your host, Dan.
I am your mysterious witch advisor, Maxie.
And today we have a guest with us.
Hi, I've traveled back in time from my own future to hand myself a golden podcasting microphone orb. I'm Max.
Mm-hmm. You've got the snowball in your hand, and you're taking it from your past self.
Uh-huh. I had to trick him by telling him a cool story.
Yeah, you also had to offer a Yeti in exchange. It was a whole mess.
When I was sick with stand fever, I pushed myself in the snow and I said, "Wow, I have a really cool hairstyle."
This month we watched Dragon Quest: Your Story.
My story.
Our story.
Our story.
The story of everyone who plays Dragon Quest.
We got a good one! We got a good movie!
Yeah,
it really kicks ass.
It's great. I loved it. I will admit, I think I decided to go with the dub, and I think it picks up towards the back half, or you just settle into it, but at first it's very speed racer-y.
I don't know if I agree at all. I don't know about the lip sync, but I thought all the actors were putting their whole ass into it, and that's something I respect. I'm really glad that I suggested this one right after Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
Yeah, a good anime movie.
Because we went from a movie that's well, I guess it would be really hard to adapt a long ass RPG into a movie using the same narrative, and none of the actors are really selling me. And then it's just no, we just put an entire half of a video game.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely had to kind of give us the Cliff's Notes on a lot of stuff, but I think that actually works really well with something like Dragon Quest V, which is not the most complicated story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I feel like the SNES was when video games, I think, they started to figure out using time as a story mechanic. You have, I guess this is kind of just mostly Square, but Dragon Quest V and 4 to a similar extent is time is very much passing. Chrono Trigger, it's a whole ass game about time. The Fire Emblem genealogy was there's a time skip in it. So this is when games realized, oh, time's a part of stories now, huh?
Yeah. Before we get into the movie, let's talk about what games we've been playing. Max, you're our guest. You can go first.
I've played a couple of videos game. The main one I've just been completely sinking my teeth in time and button presses into is Theatrhythm Final Barline. It is a game in a series called Theatrhythm that celebrates Final Fantasy. And it is just a Final Fantasy rhythm RPG where you can completely ignore the RPG aspects if you just want to play Battle on the Big Bridge over and over and over again until your fingers cramp. You can do that. Funny enough, there actually was a Theatrhythm Dragon Quest game featuring music from noted dead bigot Koichi Sugiyama.
Great.
Yeah, no, the first rhythm game with 3 songs in it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh fuck, we couldn't get the rights to any of this. Ship it, fuck.
Here's the fucking problem. Koichi Sugiyama is my Wagner because I hate that dead bitch so much, and yet made some pretty good songs.
Regrettably enough, I think there was, what was it? It was the Simpsons movie game. I think the DS version. I don't know what the fuck happened there. Whoever composed that music, I swear to God, is Koichi Sugiyama too. There's music in that game that is straight up indistinguishable from actual Dragon Quest music.
When you describe it as a Simpsons DS game, I'm more thinking Tim Follins too.
Look, if we get Tim Follins, I don't know if Tim Follins is still like working in the industry. I don't want to search Time Fallen.
Didn't he? I'm pretty sure Tim Follins made Contradiction Spot the Liar.
He did make Contradiction Spot the Liar.
He did Echo the Dolphin. He did Solstice is what many people know him from. Let's get Tim Follins to do the music for Dragon Quest XII.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Just hitting you with the most like insane arpeggio Dragon Quest theme you'll ever hear. But that's what I've been playing.
Like,
it's a Final Fantasy music. We love it. We all know it.
Yeah.
Fittingly, I played a lot of Yakuza 7, aka Like a Dragon.
Oh yeah.
Like a Dragon
fairly
Quest.
recently. Dovetails very well with this movie thematically. I have to say.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Let's see. I finally played Citizen Sleeper, which is a pretty good game, shorter than I expected. Didn't really have an ending for me, and I looked it up, and it's like, yeah, there's some end conditions, but if you don't get those specific ones, you're just kind of still hanging out.
Great.
I played this puzzle game called Sunshine Heavy Industries, where you're like building little spaceships to fit client specifications.
Ooh.
That one's pretty fun.
Neat.
And I recently played through Castlevania Symphony of the Night all the way for the first time.
That one's good.
That one's good, but also, man, it has aged.
Yeah.
There is so much like loading, and the inverted castle is really cool, but then you're like, man, it is just the same thing but upside down.
It's cool for 5 rooms until you realize you have to go through the entire castle just upside down this time. Oh boy.
Yay.
You
can make we effectively doubled the length of our video game.
Wow.
Added maybe 25% to it.
Yeah, it's a very short quote unquote end game.
Great.
It's fun though, and I liked like getting all the treasures and then going to fight my shitty dad, and it's like, well, this part is actually pretty easy because I did like the super boss without finding the item that lets me absorb lightning damage, and I have all the a la carte equipment, and I can turn into an invincible cloud of mist. Doesn't poison him in the second phase, which was very rude, but it was still quite useful. Anyway, yeah, no, fun fucking game. Turns out, Castlevania, those types, the fucking Castlevania games, especially the ones with the RPG elements and you're exploring a big old place, fun.
They should name a genre of video games after those ones.
Yeah, they should. They can call them Castle... They can call them Castle Knights after Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
Also.
Dan, what have you been playing? Ooh.
Back.
Dan, we lose you?
No, I'm back now. I just had to step away to turn down my soup that I'm making.
Yeah, your lemon dill soup.
Yeah.
Let's go. Dan, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a couple different games, but let's see. Most notably, I played and last night finished Pizza Tower.
Wario Land 5.
It's really good. I've never really... I did try playing a bit of Wario Land 4 before. I couldn't really get into it, but I am so in love with Pizza Tower. It is got a great art style. It is really fun to play. It is hilarious. I would just like every time I started, I would like do a little test run of like the first level, and then I'd go into like everything else. I'm not sure if I want to like go to the trouble of like finding all the extra things and getting the little bonus bit for the ending, but it's a really good game. It is a great start to 2023.
I'm glad they finally figured out how to make games about Italians.
Yeah, famously, there's never been any games about Italians that were good.
Yeah, Peppino's the first one.
Aside from that, I do want to quickly mention I've been playing very heavily modded campaign of XCOM 2. A lot of quality of life mods, but quite a few that are just like mods that make me have fun, weird soldiers like the Toa, or I'm trying to remember some of these Half-Life scientists. I've got Kiryu.
Look out,
and
Pohatu!
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I am really looking forward to Abiotic Factor. But anyways, XCOM 2. Playing it. This is like my third playthrough of the game of War of the Chosen, and it's still a really good game. And I think that's it for me. So
XCOM to the polls.
Let's get into this movie, Dragon Quest: Your Story. It's on Netflix. It's good. I did not look up any background info on it this time around.
I feel like the most background info you could really glean is just like playing through the game. Mm-hmm. That's really what it is.
Yeah, it's very inspired by Dragon Quest V.
Yeah. The first thing that strikes me about this movie is, holy shit, this is one of the best looking animated movies I've seen in my life.
It is.
It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful, yeah. Like, there's so much work put into like making these Toriyama 3D models work really well.
They do a phenomenal job because they're not trying to emulate that style. Like, that is a style that if you try to make it look like Toriyama, like you're going to fail at it. Making it in 3D is already so much harder than that. So I'm so glad they just kind of went with their own distinct visual style that like really isn't like it almost feels most similar to like 70s anime, like in the way the characters are very like they're very like, I don't know, bubbly is the word that's coming to mind, in a way that like doesn't make it look like just like How to Train Your Dragon or like, an Illumination movie or something.
Yeah, I get that. It does feel, there is a sort of like 70s anime vibe to it.
I also want to say, in terms of the animation, the physical expression.
Unbelievable.
There are so many like physical gags in this that just work entirely off of the movement of their bodies, and it's great.
Yeah, like just characters getting whacked around and just really selling that. So we begin with some opening narration and sort of opening sequence in the style of a classic Dragon Quest game.
Yeah, like this is just. I'm pretty sure that this is mostly straight up actual footage of Dragon Quest V for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Well, I don't know if it was localized, so it might have only been the Super Famicom at that point.
Right. I think 5 was not localized to the States until like the PS1 release of it, I think.
Huh. I didn't know it was. Honestly, that's earlier than I would have expected.
Yeah, right.
It's so weird that like Dragon Quest has such a small presence in the United States.
Yeah, that's sort of been Final Fantasy's job. But yeah, like Dragon Quest is like the JRPG, so the important things to note from this sequence, there were people called the Zenithians. They fought against an evil like demon guy named Nimzo. They sealed him into like the gates of Nadiria, like an underworld sort of place. And in order to save the day, you need like this holy sword.
And it can only be wielded by a descendant of the Zenithians.
I really like how pretty much right away you get that classic Dragon Quest localization style of everything kind of like being a pun or a joke or a gag. So when it immediately hits you with Zenithia and Nadiria, it's like, oh cool, Zenith and Nadir, they're opposites. Wonderful.
Yeah. The mom is named Mata.
I think that's just it's short for Madalena, I believe.
Oh, neat.
It's not like a mother joke.
Okay.
We'll get to the best name pun later.
There's some really good ones.
Yeah. So a baby is born. He is named Luca. His mom gets abducted by monsters, and he travels with his dad, Pancras. He meets like a friend named Bianca. He meets like a little cat named Percy.
Percy's so good.
He is at one point accosted by this guy who's like, "Whoa, you got an orb there, little man? Fucking awesome!"
Yeah. I love orbs. Here's mine.
I love orbs. The Papa, Pancras, is really good at fighting monsters. He's training with him. He grows up. And eventually we get to a point where he's like playing with he's like playing with the prince named Harry.
Yeah, Prince Harry of Coburg.
Yeah, Prince Harry of England.
And Harry gets stolen by monsters. The two main monsters that like grab him and are seen like throughout the rest of the movie are like, I think they're like a big like unicorn guy and like a bull guy, and they're all like big and burly and fucked up looking.
It's Slon and Khan, I believe.
Yep.
One is like a horseman is the only way I can really describe him.
Yeah.
And the other one's like it's just like kind of like a classic Toriyama. He's kind of a beast.
Yeah.
Like, it could be like a saber-toothed cat or a lion. I don't know. I draw
It struck
Goku.
me as kind of like a dog thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of dog, like, because we see with Bjorn later on too. He likes dog noses, Toriyama.
So yeah, anyway, Prince Harry gets kidnapped. Luca and Pancras give chase. They end up meeting maybe the best villain ever in the entire world.
This guy rules.
He's good.
Bishop Lodja. Now, this one is the biggest departure from Toriyama's character designs. I looked this up. The original Bishop Lodja, he just looks like a slightly fucked up guy in a robe.
Yeah, like he looks like every other Dragon Quest villain.
He look like, picture evil cultist and like crank the hue until he turns blue. You got it. Bishop Lodja in this movie looks so fucking unhinged and weird, and it's awesome. He looks like he has a fucking crescent moon for a face. His eyes are always crossed. He's got this fucked up helmet.
Yeah, he's got a helmet with an eye on it.
He's
be...
Mac tonight.
Okay, sure. Yeah. He's
a little bit Mac tonight with it.
He's a huge freak. I'm looking at like the movie model, and he's got like all these. His robes are all nasty and fucked up. They've got the fur looks a bit nasty. He's just a nasty man, and I love that.
He sucks, and I love him.
So he wants to bring forth his master Nimzo to this world, and in doing so, like I said, he kidnaps Harry. He like fights them. Like Pancras fights him. A great thing that I will mention here is when people use spells in this movie,
they say the names. They say the names, and it. Listen,
yeah.
Part of me every time is like, that's a little corny, but a bigger part of me, who's the kind who like played Dragon Quest VIII when she was like 11, was like, yeah, use Gefrizzle.
Yeah. Whoosh. It's so
Thwack.
good.
It's tremendous. It is such a wonderful stylistic choice.
I think it really helps that they are that the Dragon Quest like spell names are already just very silly.
They're deeply silly with it.
And everybody is delivering them so seriously.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Perfect.
They fully bought into the fiction of the world. And, like, the movie, up until this point, it's been, like, a pretty standard, like, you know, plucky heroes doing fights. And then the movie spends about, like, a minute and a half just watching Pancraz get the absolute fuck beaten out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, like, here's the thing. Dragon Quest V is, like, one of the darkest classic Dragon Quests.
Yeah.
Great.
Like, this is something that, to my understanding, happens in the game. Your dad just fucking eats it.
Sure does.
Like, a third of the way through.
He's super dead.
He's super dead.
Yeah,
he gets fireballed to hell.
Pancraz gets fucking annihilated. As he's dying, he tells Luca, listen, your mother's not dead. She's still out there. You need to find her. And then Luca and Prince Harry are kidnapped to be slaves in a quarry for
10 years.
like 10 years.
Yeah, that, you know, I will say, that's not something I usually expect out of a time skip.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
They figured a way out after 10 years. The way they, and I'm here to bring what little knowledge I remember of the game. I'm pretty sure in the game you leave. It's like a temple in the game, and like I think you leave because like you just kind of keep on picking fights with people, and the guards are like, "Fuck you guys, get out of here," and they just like kind of send you out. Like you just basically annoy them to leave. That's great. Yeah,
they put a little more effort into it in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie, how you can get out is, so there are, whenever someone like dies, like working here, they get stuffed in a barrel and sent down a river. So they just have to pretend to be dead and stuff themselves in a barrel, and they'll just be free to, they'll be able to escape.
Now, Luca does decide that the best way to seem dead is to cover themselves in sewage, which admittedly does work.
Yeah?
It does work, but it makes them extremely stinky. And gross looking. I will say, yeah, it does work visually as well. They get, like, dumped away, but, like, they're only able to get so far before, like, they figure out they're alive, and they end up barreling down, like, they barrel down, like, a road. They, like, fall.
They're in, like, they're in Minas Tirith.
I really like how the chase escape sequence starts, where they're just, like, doing some Scooby-Doo shit. It's just a barrel and 4 legs scampering down the road.
Yeah.
This is, again, like, every action or comedy sequence in this, fantastic animation, great, like, impact and motion on the barrel. It is essential to make note, this is narratively important. While they are floating down the river, there's a slime, it sees the barrels, and it gets a determined look on its face.
I love this determined little slime. They eventually, like they go down like a huge waterfall, and like the barrel breaks, but they manage to survive.
Then they get chased, like we were talking about, and they end up leaping seemingly to their dooms, but falling into a passing old man's cart full of straw. He brings them back to his pub, introduces himself as Dr. Agin.
You can't get much better than that, folks.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder how on the nose his name is in Japanese. It would be. I hope he's just like, yeah, no, I'm Ryu. Wink. Yeah, so he brings them back to his pub. He's all, I'm Dr. Agin. Bishop Lodja is planning to free Grandmaster Nimzo. Y'all gotta get the hell out of this city. And they do, and they make their way back to Coburg.
Yeah. Pretty easy once, like, the 3 guys who were chasing them give up. Because like I like that Dr. Agin he runs like a pub, and you see orcs from before leaving the pub, like after he's like served them beer. So I guess the monsters all just kind of hang out there and like didn't smell the weird sewage boys in the back. I don't know.
It just always smells like that.
Yeah.
They just naturally smell like that. They're able to get back. There's this bit where, like, Prince Harry has to, like, just is, like, talking to the guard that he remembers from all those years ago, just sort of casually and, like, letting on who he is. It's a fun little interaction. And he's so happy that Prince Harry is back. But Luca has to set off on his own, go his own way. But
Prince Harry is just like, listen, I'll help you however I can. Someday.
Someday.
Here's the thing that this podcast has fucked with my standards for movies so much. Because Dragon Quest Your Story has, like, a very basic understanding of setup and payoff.
Right.
Like, it will... There will be a guy, like, mounting Chekhov's gun on the rack over the fireplace, then it will turn to face the camera, and it'll, like, give a little nod, and then it'll show up later, and it'll be like, oh, it's the thing from earlier!
Yeah, it's, things really happen a mile a minute in this movie, and they kind of have to because it's a JRPG.
Yeah, they had to compress it a lot, and I think there are a couple spaces where that's awkward, but I think for the most part, like, it's fine. It's compressed.
Right.
It's an abridged adaptation.
Yeah, they're very good, like, the montage choices they choose to make are, like, they're very fun, they're very entertaining. Like, you know, we don't need the director's cut features 20 hours of grinding.
Yeah, no, you have a montage where, like, he's fighting some metal slimes, and then he gets his ass kicked. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, he's training and getting stronger and going through dungeons.
Yeah.
I really like this bit where, so Luca leaves Coburg, he heads back to Wheelbrook, which is that freezing, like, wilderness settlement from earlier where his dad was staying with his servant Sancho. He sees the cabin, he's staring, like, heroic and satisfied, and he's like, it hasn't changed a bit. And then his nose just starts running because it's extremely fucking cold.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh god, I gotta get inside.
Oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
I really like...
I love that. Like, it's... I don't know if subtle is the right word, but this movie does a very good job of, like... It doesn't hesitate to do big jokes, but it doesn't, like, hammer them into your head the way you'll see a lot in, like, a bad kids movie or, like, a kind of, like, B-tier comedy anime, you know what I mean?
It's very quick. I feel like, because it knows it's a movie that...
It's that airplane shit. It gets the joke in, it gets the joke out, and moves on.
Right. I feel like the writers and animators and everyone, they had a really good idea that the movie is going to be watched with a really weird mix of audiences, which is A, the kinds of kids who would go to see a kids movie like this, and B, people who are, you know, like 30 or 40 who grew up playing Dragon Quest. So, like, I feel like they strike a really good balance of just, like, you know, making things fun enough, but also just like, yeah, we understand that this is also a movie that people want to see.
Yeah.
I really like the, as he goes and kind of explores his old house, he like accidentally gets caught on a rope on the ceiling and like pulls on it and leans over a pit, and it plays like the Dragon Quest item jingle get noise, like that.
Yeah, I love that.
It's really cute.
He finds the secret room where Pancras was like writing down like the whole like plot of the game, the whole like backstory of this game, and noting that Luca is most likely the heavenly hero needed to save the world.
Because his mom was a Zenithian. It turns out she was kidnapped by Ladja. He needs her to open the gates to Nadiria, which is why Pancras is sure she's still alive. And then Sancho shows up. He sees Luca crawling out of the basement. He thinks he's an intruder. Then once that's cleared up, man, Studio Ghibli makes such good-looking food.
Yeah!
Studio Ghibli food hits different. Does anybody ever notice how well animated Studio Ghibli food is?
Oh, yes, of course.
Man, anime food is crazy. It looks so good.
Delish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Posting that as I look at this delicious Sancho meal.
The meal does look good, though.
Sancho makes Luca his finest lemon dill soup.
Yeah.
He gives Luca maybe the funniest, like, out of context bit of information of, oh, there's like this special Zenithian sword that only the Zenithian hero can use, and who has the sword? And you expect to hear some kind of like, you expect to hear a pretty like, you know, decently fantasy name, Rodrigo Briscoletti.
He's just some Italian.
He's just an Italian guy.
It's a great name too.
Italians are always the best characters in Dragon Quest, by the way.
Yeah.
Rodrigo Briscoletti, great character. Mori from Dragon Quest VIII, who runs the Monster Arena, great character. Sylvando, I guess Sylvando might be more Spanish.
He's like, like Iberian Peninsula.
Decidedly Mediterranean.
Yes, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Sylvando is one of the top 5 video game characters ever, so he's allowed to join the group.
Yeah. So
honorary Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just gets a little badge with an Italian flag on it. Luca, knowing that his mother is alive, sets out on his dragon quest.
I appreciate the movie waiting this long to finally play the theme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, listen, I know I was talking about it earlier. The guy who composed it sucked ass.
And it's good that he died, but...
It's good that he died, but when I hear the Dragon Quest Overture, I do clap.
Yeah,
like, what's that say about me? I don't know.
We get like a whole montage of him adventuring. Sometimes he's getting his ass kicked. Sometimes he's getting loot. Sometimes he meets a slime and he names it Gutrude.
Let's go!
Gutrude is so good. I really like the scene where he's trying to grind metal slimes and he just keeps clanging them with his sword. He cannot get a single point of damage in.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Little dude's hitting zeros. You hate to see it.
Yeah. He also finds the saber-toothed tiger he knew, Percy.
Yeah.
He's all grown up now.
Yeah. Eventually he gets to a town. What was the town's name?
It is called Mostroferrato.
Monstroferrato. Great.
It's so good.
And he finds a bounty. Whosoever...
There is just like a bounty board, which is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a bunch... I like took a moment to like look at this bounty board. There are quite a few like quests on here, and they all feel very video gamey. It's very good.
Mm-hmm. I'm certain if you paused on that scene, like there's probably Easter eggs for like every other Dragon Quest game.
Yeah, the one I specifically remember is like, hey, do you collect this special item? Come to me and you'll get a reward.
Oh yeah, the mini metal guy.
Yeah.
Someone advertising Puff Puff on that board, probably.
Whosoever can defeat Bjorn the Behemoth, I shall make my heir, Rodrigo Briscoletti.
Mamma mia.
So now he's got to do this, but first, before he like actually goes and does the thing, he meets with Rodrigo and meets her daughter, or his daughter, Nirai. They like have an emotional reconnection because they knew each other so many years ago. And Rodrigo tells them that behind this door is the legendary sword that you, the hero, will need to save the world. And he opens the door and he there's nothing there, and we see like an exterior shot as apparently the entire room has been removed and like stolen by presumably Bjorn.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so funny. The way the shot opens, where Rodrigo opens the door, and you just see it like it's a side view of Lucas standing in front of this kind of glowing door frame. You think he's just sort of dumbfounded, and then Rodrigo turns and looks, and yeah, it's just the shot of outside. It's really great.
It is fantastic. We also start setting up very accelerated like love triangle going on in this movie.
Oh yeah, this all happens in like one night basically.
but like they managed to make it mostly work.
Yeah.
And that's fucking crazy. So yeah, Nera is like trying to express, Luca, I don't want you to get yourself killed, but she ends up talking in circles because she's trying to express, I don't want you to go on this dangerous quest, but that doesn't mean I don't want to marry you, but I don't want to say outright that I do want to marry you.
Yeah.
So Luca goes straight for Bjorn's den. It doesn't even get a scene change. Immediately, he is like launched out. He is charred to a crisp. He stumbles back to town looking for healing, and he meets another old friend of his, Bianca, who ends up tagging along with him, even though he's like, I don't need help, I can do this on my own. Their dynamic has a lot more like teasing and back and forth.
Yeah. They're childhood friends. Bianca's someone that he met in the first third of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they they eventually go out and like do this, go on this big adventure. They like find the Zenithian sword, but it's not working. They like find the sword. They fight Bjorn. They sort of like split the party. Bianca and Gutru have to like lead away Bjorn while.
No, it's Luca leading away Bjorn,
right.
and Bianca and the pets are like looking for the sword. I will say, when Luca gets the sword and like finds that he can't unsheath it, this one doesn't quite land for me. Feels a little more played out and takes a bit longer than I'd like, but like, you know, it's one joke. Like I said, it's the airplane thing. It's one joke, and then when it's over, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's get some more action in.
Yeah, you see there's like genuine fear in Bjorn's eyes as Luca starts to unsheath it, and then nothing happens. He's like, oh cool, alright, better run.
Yeah.
And he chases them out of his lair. And at some point, like, Luca's, like, flung up onto his face and, you know, remembers that, his weakness is his third eye, so I hit that. And he, like, kaswoosh or whatever, tears Bjorn's wings, so he, like, kind of crash lands and holds his sword to his third eye. And basically makes him swear loyalty to him. And, like, obviously we've seen Luca do this with Percy and Gutrude, but, like, Dragon Quest V was the first Dragon Quest where you could tame monsters and add them to your party. So this is like, it's a nice little nod to that, where he kind of like, you see Bjorn's eyes kind of like, you know, lighten up a little bit when he sort of joins his side. This is nice little.
I
nice
also
little
think it's a really nice moment of characterization for Luca.
Yeah,
because like it would be very easy to just go he slays the monster route, but like making the specific choice to say, no, he's going to spare this guy. And he's going to spare this guy in exchange for loyalty. It, like, creates this image of, like, mercy tempered by practicality, which is a very fun, a fun trait, I think.
And though they have succeeded, they go back to the inn, being celebrated. He feels like a bit of a fraud. Like, the sword isn't working. He doesn't know if that really counted as like accomplishing his goal. It's a little worrying, and also Bianca can't really get her share of the reward because the reward was a hand in marriage. And so they decide Bianca and Luca are going to. Bianca's going to help Luca propose to Nera.
This is so adorable.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Like, she's desperately trying to play matchmaker, and Luca is just like red in the face, barely able to get a single word out.
And like they're having a bit of a trouble, but like he's able to confess, and like she's glad that she did, because you know it's one thing to be betrothed, it's another thing to fall in love.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you even see as Bianca like walks away from this, her face falls, and you're like, oh, it's a love triangle, of course.
It's so good. Like
she loves him so much that she's.
They do not need to explicitly say this stuff. They just like, no, we can just. It's a movie. We can just do the thing that movies do.
Yeah.
Again, this podcast has completely wrecked my standards for film.
Yeah. But, you know, So they go back to the inn. Bianca, like, gets drunk.
Yeah, she's fucking trash.
Yeah.
Completely wasted.
Yeah, she's absolutely wasted compared to everyone else. He, like, goes to hide in his room before she can, like, you know, flirt with him or whatever. And then he runs into a witch.
Fucking Baba the Fortune Teller is here.
Yeah, real Baba type looks.
And the witch just points at him and says, "I diagnose you with love triangle."
Drink this watermelon Mountain Dew, maybe you'll feel better.
Fuck.
Drink this glowing pink potion. I
promise it won't turn you into a girl. No, that's Dragon Quest, my story.
Yeah.
There you go.
So he like goes to bed, but he can't sleep. So ultimately he decides, you know what? I'll drink the potion. And he goes to bed, and he immediately falls asleep after he drinks it, and like has like these visions of like basically the choices the player made in the video game.
Yeah. He's like in this blue and white voxel void, just falling through it, and there are just text boxes. Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yeah.
What's really fun here is obviously in Dragon Quest V you choose between Nera or Bianca. I think in like the DS remake of it, you can pick, like, they add a third person to get married to, which is like Nera's shitty older sister that you can marry just for something new, just cause.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, they might as well add a new possible party member.
Yeah, your potential wives weren't rude enough. So here's one for those people in the crowd.
I'm always making that complaint.
Exactly. Yeah.
I need a rude wife. So he like realizes it's not Nera he loves, it's Bianca.
Oh, I just fucking realized Nera and Bianca, black and white. Okay.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
There's layers.
Oh, that's great. So he's gonna tell Bianca, but she's completely passed out, drunk. So he has to go tell Rodrigo about how he feels and how he has to like call off the engagement. And Rodrigo does not like this at all. He is very mad about this. Luca feels bad about it, so he like gives back the sword. After all, he's not the hero, but Rodrigo stays his anger and notes that if you're not the hero, then you have to keep the sword. You have to find the true hero. You must like go to the base of like the mountain where Ladia is and find the dragon.
Yeah, so there's a dragon disguised as a human in the village below Ladia's lair. I wonder who it could be.
I wonder.
And that dragon will be able to help him. Luca, now that the engagement is broken off, he heads back to the pub. He proposes to Bianca, and what I really like the touch that he had so much trouble spitting it out to Nera, but like now it's super easy for him, and she's the one who's just completely red-faced and embarrassed.
It's so good. And like as like they celebrate their love, the whole pub celebrates, and he sees the little witch lady like leave, so he follows her, and he just like he like thanks her for the potion and the advice, and she runs off, and it turns out that was Nera all along in disguise. Mm-hmm. She knew. This is a fun little love triangle story.
Yeah, it's like a 5-minute conflict resolution. Easy. Boom.
Yeah.
But that's not important right now. What's important right now is there's an evil wizard who needs more power.
Yeah, we love him!
Yeah, he's like I don't know, he's like absorbing like this like font of power from like the sky from Nimzo. And he's got like Mata like in this sort of like
It's an orb.
Yeah, it's an orb.
It's a crystal orb prison.
It's a whack-ass orb prison.
The mother protection sphere.
Mm-hmm.
That's what fucking Porky got put in the end of that game.
Mm-hmm. So time passes.
Yeah, we get a montage of Luca and Bianca being cute together, and they have a baby. His eyes are gold like Luca's, but they're brighter. Mm-hmm. And in his presence, the Zenithian sword shakes in its scabbard, and Luca doesn't put two and two together because, like, he's not a very smart man.
Yeah. Surely the babby couldn't be the hero. He can't even hold the sword.
Mm-hmm.
But while they're trying to raise their kid, they're at Sancho's cottage. It's attacked by Lodge's troops. They all have to flee. Bianca gives the baby to Sancho, and she and Luca try and fight everybody off.
Yeah.
This is just a fantastic fight scene. A lot of weight, a lot of movement and momentum. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's always enough to justify the fight scene being here, but it never goes on so long that I'm just like, okay, let's get on with it.
Yeah, it's perfectly economical.
Yeah.
Eventually, what is it, like is Bianca captured, and then Luca
gets snoozed.
That's right. She gets snoozed, and like Luca freaks out, and Lodge
like grabs her.
Yeah,
and he's like, I'll just use her power because she's Zenithian too.
Dun, dun.
Now I hold the hand of the heavenly bride.
Yeah,
Dragon Quest V.
Looking directly into the camera.
Luca is turned to stone.
He just fucking does it.
Yeah.
Like, Lodge just fucking boop. And
pretty
they
horrifically.
do a really good job of making this look fucked up.
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
Yeah, he's like looking on in horror, and like he's told that he'll have to watch as the world goes to ruin, vaguely implying that he can see what's happening. It's great. And he like takes away Bianca, and while there, he sort of like tries to cut a deal with her to, help me open up the gates to Nateria and free Nimzo, and I shall let you free. But even though she like communicates with Mata about it, and like,
and Mata's like, "Hey, he's evil.
Yeah, don't do it.
He looks like the fucking Joker, and he's constantly cackling, and he enslaved your husband for 10 years."
Yeah,
he's gonna say Nimzo has the new Call of Duty and he wants to play it with him, but he's lying about it.
Mm-hmm. And so she refuses to open it and fights back, but as much as she can kafrizzle, it's no use, and she too...
Yeah, no, his magic defense is too high.
Mm-hmm.
She too is turned to stone. Time passes...
I really like that her expression is like one of defiance. She's not screaming. She's just really pissed off.
Yeah,
that's
great.
And Lodge is just like, oh, this one sucks. This statue sucks. I like when they're scared. I can't put this in my garden. I think in the game, you're like statues in like some rich person's garden, and then 8 years later, your kid comes and unfreezes you.
Oh, that's great.
Well, there's two kids in the game though. It's like a boy and a girl, I believe.
Yeah, no. Apparently, in the original game, they're like twins.
Yeah.
Time passes, darkness reigns, the boy grows, and eventually, when he's like 8 years old, he and Sancho like pull an artifact out of like a pit.
It's like this fucked up cave full of cyclopes.
But yeah, they're able to like get this like magical staff, and they sort of toss it at Luca and free him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He comes out, and the Atlas are like they surround Alice, and without thinking, Luca kind of like throws a sword and is like, "Oh shit, you're not gonna be able to unsheath that." But Dead to Dragon Quest
What? He can unsheath it!
You know what happens next?
Yeah.
Try not to think too hard about like how it's like maybe little weird implications of like a divine bloodline in any fantasy story. A little weirder for me when it's implied that like he can wield it, but his dad can't because his dilute blood was refined
because
via Mendelian inheritance. Like he has lowercase z for Zenithian dual recessive.
Cool. Yeah, he had the inferior non-Zenithian genes.
Cool sword, though.
The sword is fucking cool.
It's
like a dragon sword. It's
like,
awesome.
You know that old tweet about like, listen, the church and monarchy are horrible institutions that have caused unspeakable suffering and death. But when the chosen king gets his holy blade,
nothing's better than that.
Yeah, my therapist is taking notes right now. So they sort of like they go out. They have to fight monsters. They find the old man who saved them all those years ago, and of course,
and Luca's like, yeah, I hear a dragon disguised as a human lives around here, and Dr. Agate just straight up starts choking on his beer.
Yeah.
And then after he explains the situation, verbatim, in unison, Luca and his son, Alice, say, "Who could have ever guessed that Dr. Agon was the Zenith Dragon? Did you?"
It's
like it's that
so
fucking
good.
Simpsons bit with fucking Dr. I forget his name, the doctor pointing at the camera and being like, "I can't solve this mystery."
Can you?
Yeah. It's so fucking good. Hibbert, Dr. Hibbert.
Yeah,
is that
Dr.
guy's
Hibbert. But yeah, they figured
Luca is as smart as an 8-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they figure that, well, he can't really help them because he lost his dragon orb and he can't transform into a dragon. Luca is able to give him something. It's a piece of the dragon orb, but it's not the real one.
Yeah, Lodgia broke it. And then Dr. Agon is like, well, I mean, this is actually like a kind of shitty replica, so no harm, no foul. Anyway, do me a favor. I know these fairies who can grant any wish, but they're protected by an army of robots, and you gotta pass some trials to speak with them. And Luca's like, robots? That's a little wacky, isn't it?
Yeah. And he says, well, it's robots this time around. And weird he'd say it that way.
A normal thing for someone to say in conversation.
I mean, look, he's a weird fucking dragon, and they're obviously setting up the time loop shit with the orb guy.
Yeah.
So, like, listen, it is foreshadowing, but it was delivered in such a way where it's easy to think it's foreshadowing something different than it is, which I think is a good touch.
Right, yeah.
By the way, the robots look really fucking cool in this movie.
I love the way they animate the eyes of it, because before in the Toriyama, it's just kind of like a sort of glowing pink orb, but it's very like mechanical lens this time. It's so sick.
I really like how. Go ahead.
I really love how they like spin around on like a sort of like what's the word I'm looking for?
Axis?
Yeah, on an axis, on like ball bearings or what have you. It really gives them like a very robot-y feeling.
My favorite thing is how like they took the Toriyama design, which is already delightful but a lot simpler, and they added a bunch of detail work. Mostly like there's a lot of seams and rivets, and it looks like they were kind of like built out of scrap or like hastily repaired. It's fucking sick.
Yeah, it's so awesome. One of my favorite things about the robots in Dragon Quest is, like, despite being just very weird out of place, most of the time they just kind of fire, like, a crossbow at you, like a decidedly non-robotic weapon.
They
just kind of shoot arrows. They do that. And, like,
they do, and specifically, Luca has to cross, like, this big-ass gap to get to a cave. And so he talks to Gutrud, who he's brought along, and he's like, Gutrud, you know what to do. And apparently he does, because Gutrud just like, hops up and grabs a bolt in flight with his mouth, and then serves as like the world's weirdest grappling hook.
Yeah,
essentially,
it's so great.
Yeah,
it's a good scene.
Yeah, they like they
find the fairy village, and Luca is immediately like, I wish the gates to Nidiria were sealed forever and my wife and mom are okay.
Yeah.
And the fairy queen is like, okay, come on, man. There's like a half hour of movie left.
Yeah, you haven't finished the game yet.
Yeah.
So what he has to do instead is be sent back in time to meet himself as a child and swap the orbs.
He gets a fake orb, which he can swap for the real orb, which is Kid Self still had at this point. He's like, Kid Luca is not like willing to show him the orb at all at first, so he has to butter this kid up, like, hey, cool saber cat you got there. I got one of my own.
Yeah. Meet my friend, Gertrude. Yeah, he's just a slime, but he's my slime.
The slimes are cool. Wow, your dad looks strong as hell.
Wow, I'm not crying at all from seeing your dad because I don't know him.
Yeah.
Your dad looks so strong and alive.
Do you think your dad would think it was weird if I came in there and hugged him? Yeah. Just like, you know,
just like guys being dudes.
Give him a warrior's greeting.
But yeah, it's once he is able to butter him up, he's able to swap the orbs.
The old switcheroo.
There's a nice little bit where he says no matter what, I know my dad's the strongest, and if I'm the son of the strongest dad in the world, then I think I can pull through.
And adult Luke is like, yeah, you know what, you can. Cut right back to the present.
Yeah.
Scene's over. We
done.
got the jokes in. We got the emotional beat in. Boom. We're back to the present.
Yep.
Dr. Agon is a dragon now. You know he is.
Yeah.
We don't need to show that happen.
I like that he still has the earring, but it's just gigantic now.
It's cute. So yeah, he's flying them to the top of Lodge's lair. They free Bianca using the depetrification staff from earlier, and the family reunites, and they go off to fight the final boss.
Yeah. Just really great. Again, a lot of this is battle sequences. First, it's just the family fighting, a never-ending horde of monsters, and when all is lost, just a big-ass ship is just kind of flung into the sky and lands on top of this tower.
Yeah, and it's Prince Harry and Bjorn the Behemoths, because this movie understands setup and payoff.
Yeah, it remembers things.
And, the action sequences aren't agonizing.
Yeah, it's... Yeah,
this is the only time I've ever been this is the only time I've been excited to see someone named Prince Harry.
Yeah, Harry and Sancho and all the guards are here to help fight. It's great. They're all fighting all the monsters, and there's a part where Luca tries to stab Ladia in the stomach, and it looks like he's gonna do it, but it's a trick. That wasn't actually his stomach. That was just some cloth. And it seems like it's all gonna fail, but Alice is here to support him, and in appropriate Toriyama fashion, we get a father-son dual attack.
Yep. I like that it's revealed that Logi is he's basically a Rayman. He's just kind of a head, torso, and then some floating hands.
Yeah, and they drive their swords into him, but it's too late. He's got...
Yeah, Elijah is, drawing the power out of Mata's corpse, because he killed her a little bit earlier.
Yeah, he killed her because she, sealed the gates permanently.
And he straight up, starts destroying himself, and, he's doing some Mr. Stark I don't feel so good shit.
Yeah.
He's overloading himself with magical power to open the gates and beckon Grandmaster Nimzo through at any cost.
And the important thing is, he is loving every second of this.
He's so fucking thrilled to die.
He's so happy. This is the best day of his life.
The happiest death in the movie.
It's Lodge's big day.
So then it's like, listen, if we use the power of the Zenithian sword, we might still be able to seal the gates before Nimzo comes through. So Bjorn hurls Alice into the sky, and Alice then like flings the sword towards the gate, opening in the heavens, and hopes he can close them. And it looks like it's working, like the sickly green tone goes away and the sky turns blue. And then as Alice is falling back towards the ground, the gates are forced open by an enormous pillar of gleaming voxels, and the world just freezes in place entirely except for Luca.
Yeah, it's freaky.
It's a real Zawardo moment.
And then the pillar, like, dissolves, and we see Nimzo. This is another one that doesn't really look like the design for Nimzo in the original game.
He's creepy looking in this.
Yeah.
Oh, they did real good.
Yeah, this is like some EYE Divine Cybermancy shit.
It's like just it's kind of like a mask, like a theater mask almost.
He reminds me of those masked guys from Pathologic.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. It's just the way his eyes are so big and his pupils are like they're like almost like small little slits. He's freaky looking. It's so funny. Like the twist when something's like, oh, this is all a fake reality or whatever, that usually doesn't really land for me in movies like this, or in movies in general. But the fact that he says, this is a fake reality, watch, because I can turn off texture mapping and gravity and collision.
It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. And he reveals, well, technically he's Nimzo. He's a virus that was put into the game, to just sort of fuck with people.
By a bored programmer.
Yeah, the programmer who's like, oh, people are playing a deep immersion Dragon Quest VR game. That's for losers.
You have nostalgia? Go to hell.
This twist was apparently very controversial.
Yes.
And, like, I get it. I get why. I think it fucking rules.
It's so good. It's so
really
good.
Like, they foreshadowed it just enough for it to not feel out of nowhere, and, like, the visual spectacle of it is incredible. Like, we talked earlier about him, like, removing the textures. It looks so cool, and, like, everything just turns that specific type of white that you see with, like, an unfinished 3D model.
Yeah. It's just... I feel like it's just such a smart twist, right? Because it literally does, like, leverage nostalgia against the viewer in the same way that, like, the programmer in fiction does that by making this virus. Like, I feel like the people who are mad about it don't understand why this Nimzo exists as a plot device, I think. And, like, he even says, I'm merely the result of a genius's programmer's boredom. Grow up, loser. It's a cool twist. It's fun. It's entertaining.
Some might say that every video game is the result of a programmer's boredom, but, like, deployed more pro-socially.
Oh.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
Yeah.
So then we get a flashback to, like, the quote-unquote real-world guy playing Luca.
Yeah.
Like, as he's entering the VR chamber. He's talking to the operator about how he wants to choose Nera this time because he always goes for Bianca when he plays Dragon Quest V.
Yeah.
And that's really cute.
It's like
It's like he's also like, yeah, I want to fight some dragons. Can we do that? And the clerk is like, yeah, man, we can put some
robots.
I want to fight some robots. And the clerk is like, yeah, dude, we can put some robots in there. Fuck it. We got the models.
Yeah, he's gonna name the character Luca because that's what he always names his characters. I specifically like the Bianca bit because, speaking from personal experience, whenever I like try to do an evil route in a game, I always end up going back to the good route, because that's just how I am.
Right. Yeah, you've activated the self-suggestion program.
A little touch I really like here is that the operator is dressed like a priest from Dragon Quest. Because he's
so
the one
clever.
who saves the game!
Oh, that's good. That's good.
It's so clever. As he flashes back from remembering how he got here, and like has his memories are being erased, Gutrude steps in and finally talks, and like it again, it's another very like almost overdone simple gag of like, oh, the character's voice isn't what you expected. But again, hearing this like booming deep voice come out of just a little Dragon Quest slime, it is delightful.
Luca, worry not. I am actually an antivirus program.
Yeah.
Here, take this new cool sword.
It's the very... He gives him the very original Erdrick sword from the first Dragon Quest game. I pointed. I like that one. I know that one. That's my friend.
I also really like... This is like some classic... giving the cool speech, shutting down the bad guy's worldview shit, where Luca's like, listen, I know it's a video game, but, like, these games are real to me. I grew up with them, and the story draws me in. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm still gonna fight to preserve this world, even if it's just, like, a game, because it means something to me.
Uh-huh.
And Nimzo gets so fucking pissed off.
He hates that so much.
No, video games are for nerds! Fuck you!
I'm a nerd, Nimzo. Yeah,
this bit honestly made me cry. It's a little silly, but it did. It's true.
It's good. He defeats Nimzo, and the world is restored, and he's like kind of at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get this sequence where he's like parting ways with most of his friends, going with his family, about to return to the cabin where it all started, and it's this like very gently bittersweet note, which I think, it's like when you beat an RPG yourself, and it's like, wow, I'm excited to get to the end of the story and like put a bow on it, but also I'm gonna be sad leaving this game behind, and it feels very genuine.
Yeah,
and it's just Luca enjoying his last moments in this world.
Yeah, I know when a video game is good when I realize, it's almost over. And feeling a little sad from that.
Yeah. Are you getting choked up right now? That's cute.
Yes.
Video games are good sometimes.
Video games are good sometimes. And it turns out video game movies are also good sometimes.
You can make them good. It's possible.
It's possible.
It turns out, if you actually love the material... Mm-hmm. It turns out if you actually have any kind of affection or respect for what you're adapting, you can make the story pretty good.
You're telling me that if I don't treat my art with derision, it will turn out better?
Turns out. I know wild. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dragon Quest Overture, roll credits. Good fucking movie. 5 out of 5 adaptation. 5 out of 5 film. Might be the best movie we've watched for this podcast.
Yes. It's 5 out of 5. It is the best I've watched. It's 5 out of 5 movie, probably 5 out of 5 adaptation. I don't know, but it's so perfect. It's really funny that we bookended the worst possible movie we've watched and the best possible movie we've watched one after the other.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Dragon Quest V out of Dragon Quest V.
Yeah. Yeah, a Dragon Quest 5 out of 5.
I wasn't ready for that. All right. Do we have any questions?
Let me see. I think we got one. If you want to send in a question, you can either send it into the Discord or you can send it in to the Twitter at VGTMTP. Probably also the co-host if I make the post and you notice it there. So, we've got one question from Dark Wizard James Mason who asks, have you ever pulled like a LARP isekai prank on anyone where you like convince an entire town to act and dress like they're from some other time or place and prank a guy who just came in? This sort of thing has actually happened. No.
Is this not the Truman Show?
Isn't this the plot of Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney or whatever?
Yeah, I've never had it happen to me, but I think I have heard about like someone doing that.
Now, you say you've never had it happen to you. How do you know you're not currently going through the most elaborate version ever performed?
Right.
And wear in on it?
Right.
What if it's actually the 24th century and people have been fucking with you this entire time?
Yeah, what if the world is good instead of bad?
I would be so fucking mad if it turned out the world was good instead of bad, and I'm just sitting around here like, well, I guess I gotta get a job that I hate to get enough money for rent, which I hate paying.
Yeah, outside the bubble dome you live in is like just the Dragon Quest world. You could be adventuring with slimes and slaying atlases, but instead you have to pay taxes.
I would straight up throw myself off a fucking cliff. I would be so mad.
I would
now. Can I just say? We were talking earlier about how Dragon Quest V is one of the darkest entries in the series, at least the classic ones. It's a hell of a game to go into. Like, yeah, no, I'll have my memories temporarily overwritten, so I can personally experience the trauma of watching my father die before my eyes.
Yeah, both parents.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one to. Like, that's probably the one problem I have, like, with the twist is just the notion that you can erase your memories for like a couple hours.
Yeah, it's like, I just got off of a long shift at the job factory. I'm gonna go experience the joys of fatherhood in a VR pod for a couple hours.
On the other hand, like, it does present the presents the scenario of what if you could do your favorite game again with no memory of it.
Oh yeah, no, you know what? That's a fair point.
Yeah, no,
I think about that a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to go full VR, but you know, I would at least do the memory erasure for the game itself.
Catch me in the Mother 3 pod every single day of my life.
Yeah, you're in. Well, the Mother 3 pod is famously known as the ultimate safety device or whatever.
That's so true. That's what they put Mata in the movie.
They did. Yeah. All right. I think we can wrap it up here.
Like the episode of the podcast? Because I don't know if you'll be able to find a better movie than this.
Admittedly, that is true, but...
No, listen, we're just going to watch worse movies. And every time, I'm just going to be like, man, this movie would be a lot better if Lodgia were in it.
Yes. Whenever Lodgia's not on the screen, you should be asking, where's Bishop Lodgia?
I want a remake of... I want a remake of Street Fighter. Where everything is the same except Guile is replaced with Lodgia. And I know, you might say, oh, but Guile is the protagonist. But he's an American imperialist, so I think it could work.
Yeah, just make him an evil wizard.
It wouldn't change that much.
I will say, I'll reveal it to my co-hosts after, but I want to keep this a surprise, so next month is a mystery. I think we can go to plugs. I'm Dan. You can find me at a lot of places. You can find all those places at biggerchallenge.card.co. That includes my other podcasts, which include Pod of Greed, a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. We are making our way through Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. We started it recently. The most recent episode recorded, and will probably be up by the time you hear this, is featuring special guests Tom and Nina from Nevermind the Trollocs. You can listen to the Sonic Shuffle, a Sonic podcast. That's a little bit on hold, but I am editing and uploading the backlog of episodes as it currently just put up an episode where we went through a choose-your-own-adventure book, and I got to put in fun music. Those are always my favorite episodes to edit. And you can find me on Twitter and Tumblr, Bigger Challenge. You can find me on co-host and on Big Challenges, Biggest Start, my art Tumblr, at Xbox_holiday, where Usher celebrates holidays with Xbox. Latest holiday, as of this upload, is Happy Lent Xbox. And also my Fur Affinity. You can look there. That's it for me. Max, you're the guest. Why don't you go next?
Hi, I'm Max. I'm on Twitter and Tumblr, or Maxi Bajillion. As Dan mentioned, we do Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. It's really good, and turns out if you do a card game on a motorcycle, it's even more fun to watch. Mm-hmm. My other shows are Wow Cool Robot, a show about Gundam, because having a shelf with just a whole buttload of little plastic robots wasn't enough. I needed to know the media they're from. Taking a little bit of a break because my life is hell right now. But our next series will be War in the Pocket, which everyone says is maybe the best one. And Dan, you were just guesting on that. We did Build Fighters, which is a show that dares to ask the question: would you like to buy our products? Yeah, would you like to buy our products? What if Gundam was basically like a toy anime like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Beyblade? Mm-hmm. Astronaut voice always has been. And my other show is called Slappers Only, which is a video game music showdown podcast. We're also on a little bit of a break there, but our next episode will be on Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn, a game that has, wouldn't you believe it, good music. And that's mine. All right.
And I'm Maxi. You can find me on co-host and Tumblr at Max Knightley. That's MAXKNIGHTLEY. I'm also on the podcast Eidolon Playtest, which is an actual play podcast. Currently we are doing Eidolon Disco and Eidolon Ska, which ask the questions: what if a group of fun mystery-solving teens got embroiled in increasingly distressing psychic encounters with various monsters and fucked up teachers and other teens? Mm-hmm. And so far, it's been a blast.
Hell yeah.
I'm always asking that.
All right. And you can find us on Twitter, Tumblr, co-host, all at VGTMTP. You can find us on Noisepace.xyz. It's a podcast network with all sorts of good shows. I have to recommend, I cannot recommend enough very active podcast, 0 to 0. They are doing a gimmick thing called Bladetastic 4, where they are alternating between the Blade movies and the Fantastic Four movies. And because of how they do their show, it is 1/3 of a Blade movie, 1/3 of a Fantastic Four movie, back and forth. And, you know, having seen them myself and hearing their coverage of it, Blade's pretty good. Fantastic Four, not so much, but still very funny.
I really liked how in Dragon Quest V they let you choose between marrying Blade or marrying the Fantastic Four.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a groundbreaking video game moment.
Uh-huh. So, yeah. And until next time, I'm Dan.
I'm Maxie.
I'm Max.
And this ain't no game.
Unless it is.
Oh.
You can play it. It's on the DS.
Well, you can't play the VR version yet.
Yet.